The doctors said it was medically impossible. A child born with a tattoo. Not a birthmark that resembled one. An actual tattoo. Intricate compass rose, perfect shading, a date inscribed beneath it in elegant script. On a newborn's wrist. June 14th, 2000. 19 years before she was born. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because this story doesn't start with an impossible child. It starts with a woman making a choice in the dark. One that would rewrite the laws of nature itself. Seoul, 2018. 3 a.m. in the morning. Sarah Williams sat across from a stranger in an empty restaurant, knowing she shouldn't be there. She had work in 6 hours. Rent was due in 3 days. Her brother back in South Africa was drowning in medical bills she couldn't afford to pay. But this man, just call me Min, he'd said, looked at her like she was the only real thing in a world made of shadows. They talked until sunrise about nothing that mattered. He never mentioned what he did for a living. She never asked why his eyes carried the kind of exhaustion that came from seeing too much. When she woke up alone in his bed, she told herself it didn't matter. One night, that's all it was. 3 weeks later, she was throwing up in the restaurant bathroom, and the pregnancy test she couldn't afford confirmed what her body already knew. She tried to find him, asked around, searched, but Min, with no last name in a city of millions of people, might as well have been a ghost. So Sarah did what she'd always done, survived. 9 months of pregnancy while working double shifts. 9 months of sending every spare one to South Africa while her own body screamed for rest. 9 months of wondering if she was strong enough to do this alone. June 14th, 2019. 18 hours of labor. No family. No friends. Just Sarah and the life she'd created from one reckless night. The baby came out screaming, angry at the world already. Perfect. Healthy. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and the nurse stopped mid-routine check. Stared at the infant's left wrist. Doctor, you need to see this. What they saw made no sense. On the baby's tiny wrist was a mark so detailed, so precise, it looked hand-drawn by a master artist. A compass rose with 8 points, each one perfectly symmetrical. Shading that suggested depth and dimension. And beneath it, in script that would take hours with a needle and ink. June 14th, 2000. Is that a tattoo? The nurse whispered. It can't be, the doctor said, but his voice wavered. They ran tests, took photographs, called in specialists. Genetic experts examined the mark under microscopes. The pigmentation is cellular. It's part of her DNA. But the pattern, the precision, human skin doesn't develop like this naturally. Dermatologists were baffled. It has depth, layers, like ink embedded in dermis tissue. But there's no scar tissue, no indication of trauma. She was born with this. A pediatric surgeon studied the date. June 14th, 2000. That's 19 years ago. How does a birthmark know a date from before the child existed? No one had answers. Before we continue with what happens next, I'm curious. Where are you watching this from right now? Are you curled up in bed with your headphones in? Maybe you're on a night shift, trying to pass the time? Or are you like me, listening to dark stories while doing dishes after the kids finally went to sleep? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you're already hooked by this impossible birthmark mystery, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. Because what's coming next? Nobody sees it coming. Sarah named her daughter Leslie. Learned to say it's a birthmark when people asked. Tried not to think about the impossibility sleeping in her arms. 6 years passed. Leslie grew up with questions Sarah couldn't answer. Why do I have numbers on my arm, Mama? I don't know, baby. Did my daddy give it to me? Sarah's throat would tighten. Maybe. She never told Leslie that her father was a man named Min who'd vanished before dawn. That Sarah had spent months searching. That she'd finally accepted some men were meant to be ghosts. December 2025. Sarah was still at Elegance Restaurant. Still sending money home. Still drowning. Her brother's condition had worsened. The medical bills were impossible now. This month's babysitter was a luxury she couldn't afford. Please, she begged her manager. 1 shift. She'll stay in the back. You won't even know she's there. Leslie sat in the staff area with coloring books and promises to be good. For 2 hours, she was perfect. Then boredom won. Children don't understand danger. They don't see warning signs. They just see the world as fascinating and full of potential friends. Leslie wandered into the dining area, captivated by crystal chandeliers and people in expensive clothes. At table 7 sat a man by himself. Dark suit, perfect posture, and on his left wrist, visible as he reached for his wine, was something that made Leslie's 6-year-old heart skip. She walked right up to him, fearless. "Excuse me, sir?" The man looked down. He was used to being approached, usually by people who wanted something or were about to beg for their lives. Not by a small black girl with puffballs in her hair and zero sense of self-preservation. Leslie held up her left wrist, beaming. "Why do we have the same tattoo?" Time stopped. The man's wine glass froze halfway to his lips. He stared at the child's wrist, then slowly set the glass down with hands that had started to shake. He took Leslie's small wrist in his larger hand. Gentle, careful, like holding something that might shatter reality. On her skin was his tattoo. Exact. Perfect. Impossible. The compass rose he'd gotten 25 years ago. June 14th, 2000. The date he'd promised forever to someone he'd lost. "Where?" His voice came out broken. He cleared his throat, tried again. "Where did you get this?" "I was born with it. The doctors say it's special. Mama says maybe my daddy gave it to me, but she doesn't know who he is." Leslie tilted her head, curious. "Are you my daddy?" Before he could answer, Sarah appeared, grabbing Leslie's hand, apologies tumbling out. "I'm so sorry, sir, she wasn't supposed to leave the..." She looked up. The man at table 7 was staring at her like she'd risen from the dead. And Sarah was staring back at a ghost she thought she'd never see again. Min. His real name was Kong Min. And the look on his face as he realized, the timeline, the child, the impossible birthmark, told Sarah that everything was about to change. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "Right now." Sarah's hands shook as she sat across from Kong Min in the private dining room he'd commandeered. Leslie was back in the staff area with another waitress, bribed with ice cream and promises. 7 years ago, Kong Min said. His voice was controlled, but Sarah could see the storm behind his eyes. "You were new to Seoul. We met here after closing. You said your name was Min. You left before I woke up." Sarah's voice was steadier than she felt. "I tried to find you. I didn't even know your last name. I wasn't in a good place that night." He looked away. "I'd just given up on something. Someone. I was drunk, reckless. I never meant. I got pregnant." The words hung between them like a verdict. Kong Min closed his eyes. "That child. Leslie. She's mine." "Yes. And that mark on her wrist. She was born with it. The doctors couldn't explain it. Still can't. I've had her tested, examined. Genetic specialists, dermatologists, everyone. No one has ever seen anything like it." Sarah leaned forward. "How is it possible? How does a baby get born with her father's tattoo?" Kong Min pulled up his sleeve, showing her the full detail. The compass rose, the date, the intricate shading. "I got this tattoo 25 years ago. June 14th, 2000. With someone I loved." "Your wife?" "No." The word came out harder than he intended. "Someone I lost. We were 17. Her family took her away. We promised we'd find each other again. Got matching tattoos as proof. I've spent 25 years searching." Sarah felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Did you find her?" Kong Min's silence was answer enough. "When?" Sarah whispered. 8 months ago." The timeline clicked into place. 8 months ago. After Leslie was born. After 6 years of not knowing he had a daughter. "Does she know?" "About Leslie?" "No one knows. Until tonight, I didn't know." Kong Min looked at Sarah with an intensity that made her want to run. "But I need to understand this. My daughter was born with my tattoo. Not a similar mark. My exact tattoo, from a date 19 years before she existed. There has to be a reason." Over the next 2 weeks, Kong Min became a constant in their lives. Not publicly, he was careful about that, but present. He'd show up at Sarah's tiny apartment with groceries, toys for Leslie, questions about her medical history. He brought specialists. A geneticist from Tokyo who had no explanation. A spiritual advisor who talked about marks of destiny transcending generations. A dermatologist who could only confirm what they already knew. This wasn't a normal birthmark. The leading theory, proposed by an elderly shaman Kong Min consulted, was that the tattoo had been made with such profound love and intention on such a significant date that it had somehow imprinted itself onto the next generation. A mark of fate, she called it. A sign that some bonds transcend the physical. Sarah watched Kong Min process this, saw him turning it over in his mind like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. "If that's true," he said one night, sitting on her worn couch while Leslie slept in the next room, "then what does it mean? That I was supposed to have a child who carries this mark? Maybe it just means biology is stranger than we thought. Or maybe it means something I'm not ready to consider." Sarah didn't ask what he meant. She was too busy trying not to notice how comfortable he looked in her space, how natural it felt to have him there. 3 weeks after that first meeting, Kong Min showed up looking different. Strained. Aged. I told Minji. Sarah's stomach dropped. Minji. The woman from the tattoo. The woman he'd spent 25 years searching for. How did she take it? She moved out. The words were simple, but the devastation behind them wasn't. Sarah watched this powerful man, because she'd figured out by now exactly who and what Kang Min was, the kind of empire he controlled, crumble over a woman who couldn't accept his past. We were supposed to get married, Kang Min continued. I proposed 6 months ago. We were planning the wedding, and then Leslie walked up to me in that restaurant, and everything I thought I knew about my life just ended. I'm sorry. Don't be. He looked at her, really looked at her. Minji and I, we were living in the past, trying to recreate something from when we were 17. But that night 7 years ago when I met you, I was at my lowest. I'd given up. And somehow from that darkness, Leslie was born. With my mark. How can that be anything but meant to happen? Sarah wanted to tell him not to read too much into it. That birthmarks were just birthmarks, even impossible ones. That he shouldn't throw away 25 years of love over a genetic anomaly. But she didn't say any of that. Because over the past 3 weeks, she'd started looking forward to his visits. Started noticing how Leslie's face lit up when Mr. Kang arrived. Started feeling something she hadn't let herself feel since that one night 7 years ago. What happens now? She asked instead. Kang Min stood up, grabbed his coat. Now I figure out how to be a father to a daughter I didn't know existed. And maybe, he paused at the door. Maybe I stop living in the past and start paying attention to what's right in front of me. After he left, Sarah sat in the dark, listening to Leslie's soft breathing from the next room. She didn't know it yet, but Minji hadn't just moved out. She was sitting in her new apartment, staring at medical test results that had arrived that afternoon. Results that would change everything again. 2 months passed. Kang Min filed paperwork to legally acknowledge Leslie as his daughter. Sarah moved from her cramped studio to a modest 2-bedroom apartment he insisted on providing. For Leslie's sake, he said, though they both knew it was more than that. The visits became routine. Monday and Thursday evenings plus weekends. He'd bring dinner, help Leslie with her homework, read her stories about compass roses and adventure. Sarah would watch from the kitchen, her heart doing dangerous things. You're good with her, she said one Thursday after Leslie had fallen asleep on the couch between them, her small hand wrapped around Kang Min's finger. I've missed 6 years. I'm trying to make up for lost time. You didn't know. That doesn't make it hurt less. He carefully extracted his finger, lifted Leslie with practiced ease now, and carried her to her bedroom. When he came back, he didn't sit on the opposite end of the couch this time. He sat closer. Sarah noticed. Tried not to read into it. Minji called today, he said. There it was. The name that still had power over him. What did she want? To talk. To try again. She said she's had time to process everything, that she understands I have a daughter now, that we can work through it. Are you going to? Kang Min looked at her. Do you want me to? It was an unfair question. Sarah had no claim on him. One night 7 years ago didn't give her rights to his future. The fact that they shared a daughter didn't mean they had to share anything else. But the way he was looking at her suggested he already knew her answer. I want you to be happy, she said carefully. That's not what I asked. Sarah stood up, started clearing the dinner plates. Kang Min followed her to the kitchen, caught her wrist, the left one, right where Leslie's birthmark was. His thumb traced the spot. My daughter has my mark, he said quietly. She was born with it, Sarah. Born with the symbol of a promise I made 25 years ago. What are the odds of that? I don't know. The shaman said it was fate. That the tattoo imprinted because of profound love and intention. But maybe she had it wrong. Maybe it wasn't about the past. Maybe it was always pointing toward the future. Kang Min, I can't stop thinking about you. The confession hung between them like suspended glass. One wrong move from shattering. You're engaged, Sarah whispered. Technically separated. And I'm starting to think that's not temporary. His other hand came up to her face. Minji and I were chasing ghosts. Trying to resurrect something from when we were kids. But you're real. You're here. You don't look at me like I'm a memory you're trying to preserve. You see who I actually am. I don't even know who you actually are. You know enough. You know what I do, what my world looks like. And you haven't run. I have a daughter to think about. Our daughter. The correction was gentle but absolute. Sarah looked up at him, saw the certainty in his eyes, and felt her carefully constructed boundaries crumbling. This is a bad idea, she said. Probably. You're still technically engaged. I know. I'm a single mother who works as a waitress. I don't care. Your world and mine. He kissed her. It wasn't like 7 years ago, desperate and anonymous in the dark. This was deliberate. A choice made with full knowledge of consequences. When they pulled apart, Sarah's hands were fisted in his shirt. "We shouldn't," she breathed. "I know," but neither of them moved away. The affair started that night. Secret, stolen moments while Leslie slept. Text messages that had nothing to do with their daughter. The way his hand would linger on Sarah's back when he thought no one was watching. Sarah knew it was wrong. Kong Min was still engaged, even if Minji had moved out. She was the other woman, the complication, the single mother who'd accidentally trapped a powerful man with an impossible child. Except it didn't feel like a trap. It felt like falling. "Tell me about the tattoo," she asked one night, lying in his arms in her new bedroom while Leslie dreamed in the next room. About that day, June 14th, 2000. Kong Min's finger traced patterns on her shoulder. "Minji and I had been together since we were kids. Her family was moving to America, taking her away. We were 17, stupid. Thought we could promise our way through anything. We went to this tattoo parlor, got matching compass roses. So we'll always find our way back to each other," she said. "We picked that date because it was exactly 1 month before she left. Did you ever stop looking for her?" "Yes. 7 years ago. The night I met you." His voice got quieter. "I was done. 25 years of searching, chasing leads that went nowhere, holding on to a promise from when I was a kid. I got drunk that night, ended up at Elegance after closing, and there you were. And you disappeared. I woke up ashamed. Not of you, of myself. I'd given up on Minji and immediately fell into bed with someone else. It felt like betrayal. But then you found Minji anyway. 8 months ago, yes. Through a private investigator I'd hired years earlier and forgotten about. She'd been in California this whole time, kept her Korean name, had her own life." He shifted, looked at Sarah directly. "We tried to pick up where we left off. Tried to make that 17-year-old promise mean something at 42. But it was like wearing clothes that don't fit anymore. You proposed anyway. I thought I owed it to that kid who got the tattoo. To the promise I made. And now I think Leslie's birthmark was trying to tell me something. That the tattoo wasn't about Minji." He pulled Sarah closer. "It was always about you." What Kong Min didn't know was that Minji had scheduled a doctor's appointment the same week he'd told her about Leslie. Not because of the revelation, though that had shattered her, but because she'd been trying to get pregnant for months before everything fell apart. She'd wanted to surprise him. Imagine his face when she told him they were starting a family, that their second chance would include children who carried both their legacies forward. The appointment was scheduled for 3 days after she moved out. She almost canceled. What was the point now? But something made her go. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe hope that having answers would make the pain more bearable. Dr. Kim was professional, thorough, apologetic. "I'm sorry, Ms. Park. The results are conclusive. Premature ovarian failure. Your egg reserve is severely depleted, and given the hormone levels, natural conception is essentially impossible." Minji heard the words from somewhere far away. Essentially impossible. Not completely impossible. "I wouldn't want to give you false hope. In cases like yours, the chances are less than 1%. And even with fertility treatments, the likelihood of success is. How long have I had this?" Dr. Kim checked her chart. "It's difficult to say precisely. Years, most likely. The condition typically develops over time. Years. All those years in California, building a life, waiting to come home. All those months with Kong Min, planning their future. She'd been broken the whole time and didn't know it. There are other options," Dr. Kim continued gently. "Donor eggs, surrogacy, adoption. Many couples. I'm not part of a couple anymore." The words came out flat. True, because Kong Min already had a child. A daughter who somehow wore his tattoo like a birthmark, like fate had reached down and marked her as his. He didn't need Minji's broken body to continue his legacy. She walked out of the clinic into Seoul's afternoon chaos, crowds pushing past her, and felt completely invisible. The city where she'd fallen in love at 17, where she'd gotten that tattoo promising forever, didn't recognize her anymore. Her phone buzzed. "Kong Min, can we talk? Please. I want to explain everything properly." Minji stared at the message. Explain what? That he'd moved on 7 years ago during his dark period, and accidentally created a miracle child? That the tattoo they'd gotten together had somehow transcended biology itself, but only for the other woman's baby? She didn't respond. Over the next month, Minji watched from a distance. Not actively, she wasn't stalking him. But Seoul's upper circles were small, and information had a way of finding you. Kong Min was spending more time away from his usual haunts. His second in command was handling more meetings. People whispered about a woman, a child, a situation. Minji told herself she didn't care. She was processing her diagnosis, considering her options, building a new future that didn't include the man who defined her past. But then she saw them. Pure accident. She was at a shopping district in Gangnam, trying to reclaim some normalcy, when she spotted Kang Min walking hand in hand with a little girl. The child was talking animatedly, pointing at something in a store window. Kang Min was smiling. Actually smiling, the kind of unguarded expression Minji had rarely seen on him. Behind them, a few steps back, was a woman. Black, beautiful, wearing modest clothes but carrying herself with quiet dignity. She said something that made Kang Min laugh, and the little girl turned around, reaching for her mother's hand. That's when Minji saw it. The child's wrist, visible as she stretched her arm up. The compass rose. The exact tattoo Minji had on her own wrist, hidden beneath her sleeve. The little girl was living proof of Kang Min's secret. But more than that, she was something Minji could never give him. An heir. A legacy. A child marked by destiny itself. Minji left before they could see her, went home to her empty apartment, stared at the fertility clinic paperwork on her counter. She could fight for Kang Min, tell him about her diagnosis, appeal to the 25 years they'd lost, remind him of the promises they'd made. But what would she be fighting for? A man who'd already moved on? A future where she'd always know he had a daughter with someone else? A child born with his mark while Minji's body refused to create anything at all? 3 weeks later, she saw them again. This time at a restaurant, not elegance, somewhere more casual. Through the window, she watched Kang Min cut food for the little girl, watched the mother, Sarah, she'd learned her name was Sarah, lean over to wipe sauce from the child's chin. They looked like a family. Kang Min's hand was on Sarah's back, casual and possessive. Not the careful, respectful touch he'd used with Minji. This was intimate, comfortable, real. The tattoo on Minji's wrist suddenly felt like a lie. A promise made by children who didn't understand that time changes everything, that you can't go home again, that some things are meant to stay in the past. She went home that night and made a decision. But it wasn't the decision to let go. It wasn't the graceful exit, the mature acceptance that Kang Min had found happiness elsewhere. Hold on. I need to take a breath here, and honestly, you probably do too. If you're feeling that knot in your stomach right now, that dread of knowing something terrible is about to happen, leave a comment. Just tell me you're here. Tell me you see where this is heading. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because Minji's about to cross a line that can't be uncrossed. The kind of line that turns heartbreak into horror. You're going to want to see how far she goes. Trust me on this one. Something darker was growing in Minji. Something fed by infertility and loss, and watching the man she'd waited 25 years for build a life with another woman's child. The child who wore Kang Min's mark. The child who was everything Minji could never have. She pulled up her sleeve, looked at the compass rose on her wrist. June 14th, 2000. The day they'd promised forever. Maybe forever had different meanings than she'd thought. Maybe destiny could be rewritten. Minji opened her laptop and started researching. Private investigators. Security schedules. The routines of a 6-year-old girl named Leslie Williams. If Kang Min believed the tattoo was fate, then Minji would teach him that fate could be cruel. She just needed time. And patience. And a plan that would take everything from them. The way everything had been taken from her. 6 months later, Minji's apartment was bare except for boxes and a single photograph on the counter. The picture showed 2 17-year-olds with fresh tattoos, grinning at the camera like they'd discovered the secret to immortality. She'd left it out on purpose, a reminder of what this was all about. Meanwhile, across Seoul, Sarah Williams was learning what it felt like to breathe without constant panic about money. The apartment Kang Min provided had heating that actually worked. Leslie's school was private now, with teachers who remembered her name and didn't look at Sarah with pity. There was food in the refrigerator that hadn't been calculated down to the exact one. "Mama, can we get a dog?" Leslie asked one Saturday morning, bouncing on Sarah's bed. "Maybe. We'll talk to your father about it." Your father. The words still felt strange in Sarah's mouth, but Leslie had adapted with the ease of children who just accept what's in front of them. Kang Min arrived around noon, carrying bags from a bakery Leslie loved. He'd started keeping clothes at Sarah's apartment, little pieces of his life migrating into theirs. A razor in the bathroom, his preferred coffee in the cabinet. Work documents he'd review at her kitchen table while Leslie did homework beside him. "Dog discussion?" he asked, catching Sarah's look. "She's relentless. Like her mother." Sarah threw a dish towel at him. Leslie giggled, delighted by the domesticity of it all. This was her normal now. Two parents who smiled at each other, who touched casually, who felt permanent even if they'd never explicitly discussed what they were. Later, after Leslie had been bribed into her room with new art supplies, Kang Min pulled Sarah onto the couch. "I need to tell you something." Her stomach dropped. Nothing good ever started with those words. "Minji contacted my lawyer last month. She's not contesting anything. Leslie's paternity, the financial arrangements, nothing. She just wanted to officially end our engagement." Oh, Sarah didn't know what to feel. Relief, guilt, some uncomfortable mixture of both. "The papers are finalized. We're done." His hand found hers, fingers interlacing. "I'm free, Sarah. Actually free. You've been free for months. Legally separated isn't the same as over. But now it's official." He shifted to face her properly. "Which means I can ask you this without any complications." Sarah's heart started doing dangerous things again. "We've been doing this backwards," Kang Min continued. "Had a child, then figured out we cared about each other, then started building a life together. But I want to make it official. I want Leslie to have both parents under one roof. I want you to." "Don't." Sarah pulled her hand away. "Don't propose because it's logical or for Leslie's sake. That's not why I'm." "Then why?" "Because 6 months ago you were engaged to someone else. 6 months before that. You didn't know I existed beyond one night 7 years ago. How do you go from searching for someone for 25 years to being ready to marry their replacement?" The word hung between them, ugly and true. "You're not her replacement," Kang Min said quietly. "Aren't I? The convenient woman who gave you a daughter with your precious tattoo? The one who doesn't have history or complications, who just accepts whatever you give her. Is that what you think this is?" Sarah stood up, paced to the window. Outside, souls sprawled in every direction, indifferent to her crisis. "I think you're a man who spent his whole life chasing a ghost, finally caught her, realized she was just a person, and now you're trying to make sense of the aftermath. And I'm here, convenient and grateful, and already tied to you through Leslie. Of course it makes sense to make it permanent." Kang Min came up behind her, didn't touch, just stood close enough that she could feel his presence. "You're right that I chased Minji for 25 years. You're right that when I found her, it wasn't what I expected. But you're wrong about why I want you." His reflection in the window met her eyes. "I want you because you see me as I am, not as I was. Because Leslie exists, yes, but also because you make me laugh. Because you call me out when I'm being an idiot. Because you've built a life from nothing and didn't let it make you bitter." Pretty words. True words. Now he did touch her, hands on her shoulders. "I'm not asking you to marry me today. I'm just telling you that when you're ready, when you believe this is real and not just convenient, I'll be here. Still wanting you. Still choosing you." Sarah turned around, searched his face for lies, found none. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Of what?" "That I'll wake up and you'll be gone again. That this is all temporary. That Leslie will get attached and then lose you. That I'll believe in this and it'll vanish. I'm not going anywhere. You don't know that. Your world is dangerous. You have enemies. You've lived 25 years one way and now you're trying to be domestic and settled and..." He kissed her. Not to shut her up, but to ground her, bring her back from the spiral. "I know my world," he said against her mouth. "I know the risks. But Leslie has my mark, Sarah. She was born with it. Whatever that means, fate, destiny, cosmic coincidence. It means she's meant to be protected. And so are you." From her bedroom, Leslie called out, "Are you guys being gross again?" They broke apart, laughing despite everything. "We should get her a dog," Kang Min said. "You're just trying to buy your way into this family. Is it working?" Sarah kissed him again, softer this time. Maybe. What neither of them knew was that Minji had just purchased a burner phone and was typing out a list of names. Names of people who owed her favors. People who wouldn't ask questions. The photograph of 2 17-year-olds went into the trash. 3 months later, Sarah stood on the balcony of Kang Min's penthouse, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline. Leslie was asleep in what had become her room. Fully decorated with constellation maps and compass motifs, a space that declared she belonged here. They'd been staying over more frequently, testing the waters of a fully blended life. "You're quiet tonight," Kang Min said, joining her with 2 glasses of wine. "Just thinking. About how strange life is. 2 years ago, I was eating instant noodles for dinner and wondering if I could afford Leslie's school supplies. Now I'm drinking wine that probably costs more than my old month's rent. Regrets? No. Just adjusting." She took a sip, made a face. "Though I still think expensive wine tastes the same as cheap wine." He laughed, pulled her close. I'll add that to the list of things I love about you. The word hung there. Love. He'd said it before, usually in heated moments, but this was casual, thrown out like established fact. You love me? Sarah asked. Of course I do. Did you think? He stopped, studied her face. You didn't know. You've said it. I just didn't know if you meant it or if it was just something people say. I meant it. Every time. His hand cupped her face. I love you, Sarah Williams. I love that you still get nervous ordering at expensive restaurants. I love that you send half your money to your family, even though you don't have to anymore. I love that our daughter has your stubbornness and your laugh. Sarah felt tears threatening. I love you too. Even though you're bossy and overprotective, and you still haven't told me half of what you actually do for a living. Some mysteries keep relationships interesting. They kissed, and for a moment everything was perfect. Souls sparkled below them. Leslie slept safely inside, and the future felt solid instead of terrifying. I haven't been feeling well lately, Sarah admitted when they pulled apart. What's wrong? Nothing serious. Just nauseous, tired all the time. Probably stress from all the changes. You should see a doctor. I will. Her phone rang, cutting her off. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello, Ms. Williams? This is Seoul National Hospital. We need you to come immediately. Sarah's blood went cold. What happened? Your daughter, Leslie Williams. She was brought in about an hour ago. Critical condition, head trauma. We need parental consent for emergency surgery. The phone slipped from Sarah's hand. Kongmin caught her. What? His voice was sharp, commanding. Say that again. But Sarah was already running. Through the penthouse, down the hallway, throwing open the door to Leslie's room. Empty. The bed was made, Leslie's stuffed compass toy arranged neatly on the pillow. The window was open, curtains blowing in the night breeze. No. The word came out broken. No, no, no. Kongmin was right behind her. Phone pressed to his ear. What hospital? Which location? A pause. There's no patient by that name? Check again. Leslie Williams, 6 years old. His face changed. I see. He hung up, looked at the empty room. The open window. On the pillow next to the compass toy was something they'd both missed in their panic. A single white orchid. The signature flower from Elegance Restaurant, where this whole story began. And beneath it, a note in elegant, feminine handwriting. Kongmin picked it up with shaking hands. Sarah grabbed his arm, reading over his shoulder. You took everything from me. My future. My family. My ability to be a mother. So I'm taking yours. She carries his mark. Let's see if destiny can save her now. You have 2 hours before the surgery she'll never wake up from. The world tilted. Sarah's legs gave out. Kongmin caught her, lowered them both to the floor. Minji, he breathed. She has Leslie. Sarah was screaming. She didn't remember starting, but suddenly she was screaming their daughter's name, clawing at Kongmin, trying to reach something, anything. His phone rang again. He answered immediately, voice transformed into something cold and deadly. The mafia boss, not the man who'd been discussing dog breeds an hour ago. Where is she? Minji's voice came through, broken but determined. Where you'll never find her in time. Unless what? Each word was ice. Come alone. No guards. No weapons. Just you. The warehouse district, Pier 14. 1 hour. Choose wrong, and your precious destiny dies with her. If you hurt her, you'll what? Kill me? I'm already dead, Kongmin dead inside. You and your perfect little family saw to that. Her voice cracked. I can't have children. Did you know that? Found out the same week you told me about your miracle baby with her perfect tattoo. While you were playing house, I was learning my body is broken. Minji, please. 1 hour. Pier 14. Alone. Or Leslie's mark won't save her from what I have planned. The line went dead. Sarah was sobbing, grabbing Kongmin's shirt. Call the police. Your people. Someone. Kongmin stared at the note, at the white orchid, at the empty bed where his daughter should be sleeping. His hand went to his wrist, the compass rose tattoo that had started everything. I go, he said quietly. Alone. She'll kill you. Maybe. His voice was hollow, distant. But she won't kill Leslie. Not if I give Minji what she really wants. What does she want? Kongmin looked at Sarah, and in his eyes she saw a terrible truth forming. Me. She wants me. And if that's the price for my daughter's life. He touched Sarah's face gently one last time. I'm sorry. For everything. Take care of Leslie. Tell her. No. Sarah screamed. Don't you dare. But he was already moving, grabbing his coat, his keys. Stay here. My people are coming. They'll protect you. Kongmin, please. I love you. Then he was gone. Sarah stood in the empty penthouse, Leslie's stuffed compass toy clutched to her chest, and felt her world disintegrating. Kong Min's phone. He dropped it in his rush to leave, buzzed on the floor. She grabbed it, saw a text from an unknown number. Tick-tock. 47 minutes remaining. Make your choice carefully, Kong Min. Your empire, your freedom, or your daughter's life. But you can't have all three. Destiny has a price. 47 minutes. That's all they have. I want you to think about that for a second. What would you do with 47 minutes to save your child? Would you call the police? Go alone like Kong Min? Storm the place with an army? Comment below. Tell me your move. Because I genuinely want to know if you'd make the same choice he's about to make. And if your heart is racing right now, if you need to know whether Leslie survives this, hit that subscribe button. We're in the final stretch, and I promise you, the ending will haunt you for days. 47 minutes. Sarah's hands shook as she scrolled through Kong Min's contacts. She didn't know his security team, his associates, anyone who could help. The names were in Korean, coded, meaningless to her. Then she saw it. Jinho second. His second in command. She called. Boss! A man's voice, alert despite the late hour. This isn't Kong Min. This is Sarah, Leslie's mother. Someone took her. He went alone too. Slow down. Who took her? Minji. His ex. She has Leslie, and she told him to come to Pier 14 in the warehouse district. Alone. He left maybe 5 minutes ago. Silence. Then, stupid bastard. Going in alone means he's planning to trade himself. Can you help? We can be there in 20 minutes. But Ms. Williams, if he told you to stay put, you should stay put. This woman is unstable and armed, and if she sees anyone besides the boss. My daughter is out there, and the boss is trying to save her. Let him do his job. His job is crime, not negotiating with psychotic ex-fiancés. You'd be surprised how much overlap there is. Jinho's voice gentled slightly. Stay where you are. We're moving now. I'll call you when we have her. He hung up. Sarah stared at the phone. 45 minutes now. 45 minutes until Minji did whatever she'd planned for Leslie. Surgery she'll never wake up from. The words echoed. Was it metaphor? Threat? Did Minji actually have surgical equipment, a doctor, a plan that elaborate? Or was it simpler? A knife? A gun? A 6-year-old girl who trusted too easily. Sarah ran to Leslie's room, started throwing things into a bag. Clothes, the compass toy, anything that might comfort a traumatized child. If when they got her back, her hands stilled on Leslie's favorite jacket. The one she'd been wearing that first night at Elegance when she'd walked up to a stranger and said, "Why do we have the same tattoo?" This was Sarah's fault. All of it. If she'd kept Leslie in the back that night, if she'd never let her wander, if she'd found a way to afford the babysitter. No, that was survivor's guilt talking, trauma trying to find somewhere to land. This was Minji's fault. A woman so broken by loss that she'd weaponize a child. Sarah's nausea returned, stronger now. She barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up everything in her stomach. Stress. Just stress. She rinsed her mouth, looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were wild, face blotchy from crying. She looked like what she was. A terrified mother watching the clock count down to her daughter's possible death. 38 minutes. Kong Min was driving toward Pier 14 through Seoul's late-night traffic, his mind cycling through scenarios. Minji had Leslie somewhere in the warehouse district. Old shipping containers, abandoned buildings, 1,000 places to hide a small child. Coming alone meant he couldn't do a proper sweep, couldn't use his resources. That was the point. Minji wanted him vulnerable. She wanted him to feel what she'd felt. Powerless, alone, watching everything slip away. He understood. That didn't mean he'd let her win. His hand touched the gun in his jacket pocket. She'd said no weapons, but he hadn't survived this long by following rules. Though if it came down to choosing between his life and Leslie's, there was no choice at all. The girl had his mark. Born with it, impossibly. Whatever that meant, and he'd spent months trying to understand it. It meant she was his responsibility. His legacy. His daughter. He'd failed her for the first 6 years of her life. He wouldn't fail her now. 28 minutes. Across the city, in a cold shipping container that smelled like rust and ocean salt, Leslie Williams was waking up. Her head hurt. Everything was dark except for a sliver of light from somewhere above. She tried to move, realized her hands were tied behind her back. "Mama." Her voice came out small, scared. "Your mama isn't here, sweetheart." A woman emerged from the shadows. Pretty, Leslie thought distantly, but with sad eyes. "It's just us." "Who are you?" "Someone your father used to love." Before you existed. Leslie's 6-year-old brain tried to process this. Are you mad at me? No. Minji crouched down, and Leslie saw she was crying. I'm mad at destiny. At tattoos. At birthmarks that shouldn't exist. At bodies that don't work. At 25 years of waiting for nothing. I don't understand. Of course you don't. You're a child. You just exist with your impossible mark, and everyone calls it fate. Minji pulled up her sleeve, showed Leslie her wrist. The compass rose. Identical to Leslie's birthmark. We match too. Did you know that? Leslie stared. How? I got this tattoo with your father 25 years ago. We promised forever. But then you were born with his mark, not mine. Like even biology was choosing him over me. I didn't mean to. I know. Minji's voice broke. That's the worst part. You're innocent. You're just a little girl who happened to be born with the wrong symbol. And now I'm the villain who kidnapped you. Are you going to hurt me? Minji looked at the syringe on the table beside her. Sedative. Enough to keep Leslie unconscious until Kong Min made his choice. That depends, she said. On your father. 23 minutes remaining. Kong Min's car screeched into the warehouse district with 19 minutes left on Minji's clock. Pier 14 loomed ahead. Abandoned for years, a skeletal structure of rusted metal and broken dreams. He killed the engine. Stepped out into the salt-heavy air. Wind cut through his jacket, carrying the smell of decay and ocean rot. I'm here, he called into the darkness. Nothing. Just the creak of old metal and distant water lapping against concrete. His phone buzzed. Text from Minji. Walk to the main warehouse. Hands where I can see them. Drop the gun I know you brought. Kong Min smiled grimly. She knew him too well. He pulled the weapon from his jacket, set it carefully on the hood of his car. Then he walked forward, hands raised, into the mouth of the warehouse. Inside was worse than outside. Moonlight filtered through holes in the ceiling, creating patterns on the concrete floor. Shipping containers were stacked haphazardly, creating a maze of potential hiding spots. Where is she? His voice echoed. Safe. Minji's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. For now, let me see her. Why? So you can confirm I actually have her? So you can plan some heroic rescue. A pause. You always did think you were the hero of this story. Minji, please. Do you know what the doctor told me? She stepped out from behind a container, and Kong Min's breath caught. She looked different. Thinner. Harder. Eyes red-rimmed, but frighteningly clear. She said I probably haven't been able to conceive for years. That my body's been broken for longer than we've even been together this second time. I'm sorry. Are you? Because you have a daughter already. A miracle child born with your tattoo like God himself reached down and marked her as yours. You don't need my broken body to give you an heir. Leslie isn't about legacy or heirs. She's my daughter. I love her. And what about me? Minji's voice cracked. Did you ever love me? Really love me, not the memory of me? Kong Min chose his words carefully. I loved who we were when we were 17. I loved the promise we made. But when we found each other again, Minji, we were different people. So that's it. 25 years meant nothing. They meant everything. They made me who I am. But that doesn't mean we were supposed to end up together. Even though we got matching tattoos. Even though we promised. Promises made by children. Don't you dare diminish what we had. Minji pulled out a phone, turned it to show him the screen. Live video feed. Leslie, tied up in a shipping container, tears streaming down her face. She's 3 containers away. I could walk there right now and inject her with enough sedative to stop her heart. Would that feel like a childhood promise to you? Kong Min's hands clenched into fists. What do you want? I want you to hurt like I hurt. I want Sarah to feel what it's like to lose everything. I want that little girl with her impossible birthmark to disappear, so the universe can't keep mocking me. Hurting Leslie won't fix anything. No, but it'll make me feel better. Minji's smile was broken glass. Unless you give me what I really want. Which is? You. Your life. Your freedom. She pulled out papers from her jacket. Confession of crimes signed by you. Testimony that will destroy your organization. Names, dates, everything the prosecution would need. Kong Min stared. That's a death sentence. Not from the law, from my own people. Exactly. Sign it, go to prison, and your empire tears itself apart without you. Or refuse and Leslie dies. Your choice. There has to be another way. There isn't. Minji screamed. This is the only way I get anything back. You took my future, so I'm taking yours. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. You fell in love with her. The woman who gave you a child I can never give you. You chose her over 25 years of us. Because she's real, Minji. What you and I had was beautiful, but it was based on who we were as kids. Sarah sees me as I actually am, and she still stays. How touching. Minji's voice went flat. Sign the papers or your daughter dies. You have 10 minutes to decide. Kang Min's mind raced. Jinho would be here soon, maybe already positioning snipers. But Minji was smart. She'd chosen her position carefully, probably had a dead man's switch. If she went down, so did Leslie. If I sign, you let her go? Immediately. Unharmed. You have my word. Your word. Kang Min laughed bitter. The same word you gave me when we were 17? That promise still matters to me, even if it doesn't to you. I'll keep it. He believed her. Not because she was trustworthy, she'd kidnapped a child, but because her revenge needed him destroyed, not dead. Death was too easy. Prison betrayal, watching his empire collapse while Sarah raised their daughter alone. That was punishment. Kang Min looked at his wrist. The compass rose. June 14th, 2000. The date that had defined half his life. Maybe destiny wasn't about happy endings. Maybe it was about impossible choices. He stepped forward, reached for the papers. Minji handed them over along with a pen. You're really going to do it, she whispered. I'm really going to save my daughter. He clicked the pen open. 7 minutes remaining. Outside, Jinho's voice came through an earpiece Minji wore. We have the container. Moving in on your position in 3, 2. Minji smiled. She'd never planned to let Leslie die. The girl was just leverage. But watching Kang Min sign away everything he'd built, that was the real revenge. The pen touched paper. Then Kang Min stopped. What's wrong? Minji asked, tension creeping into her voice. Sign it. You're wearing an earpiece. Her hand flew to her ear, too late. Kang Min's eyes had caught the tell. The tiny motion she'd made when Jinho spoke. How many of my people did you turn? His voice was eerily calm. How long have you been planning this? Long enough. Minji's composure cracked. Long enough to learn your security rotations. Long enough to find out which guards resent you. Long enough to... To what? You don't want me dead. You want me destroyed, humiliated, everything stripped away. But you can't do that alone. He dropped the papers. Who's helping you? Does it matter? It does when they have my daughter. Your precious daughter is fine. She's sleeping in a container 3 rows over. I gave her a mild sedative, nothing that would. Gunfire exploded from outside the warehouse. Both of them froze. That wasn't supposed to happen, Minji whispered. Your partner's turning on you? Kang Min started moving toward the sound. That's what happens when you trust people motivated by money instead of loyalty. No, wait, they were just supposed to secure the perimeter. More gunfire. Closer now. Then Jinho's voice, shouting orders in rapid Korean. Kang Min ran. Minji chased after him. Both of them sprinting through the maze of containers toward where Leslie was supposed to be safe. They rounded a corner and stopped short. 3 bodies on the ground. Mercenaries Minji had hired now bleeding out. Jinho stood over them, gun still raised, 5 more of Kang Min's men behind him. And beyond them, the shipping container door was open. Empty. No, Minji breathed. No, she was right here. Jinho turned to Kang Min, face grim. The girl's not here, boss. Container's been empty for at least an hour based on temperature readings. These men were guarding nothing. That's impossible. Minji pushed past them into the container. I put her here myself. I gave her the sedative, tied her hands, locked the door. When? Kang Min's voice was deadly quiet. 2 hours ago. Right after I took her from your penthouse. 2 hours. He grabbed her shoulder, spun her around. And when did you tell me 1 hour to get here? Minji's face went white as she understood. Someone had moved Leslie between the time Minji left her and now. Who else knew about this location? Jinho demanded. Just the 3 men you killed. They were supposed to watch her while I dealt with Kang Min. That was the plan. Plans change. Kang Min pulled out his phone, called Sarah. Has anyone contacted you? Sarah's voice came through frantic. No, nothing. What's happening? Do you have her? Not yet. Stay where you are. Lock everything. Don't answer the door for anyone except Jinho. He hung up, turned back to Minji. Who hired the mercenaries? I did. Through an intermediary, but I vetted them, I made sure. You made sure of nothing. You let your grief turn you into an amateur playing in a professional's world. He gestured to Jinho. Search everything. Every container, every shadow. She's here somewhere. The next 20 minutes were chaos. Kang Min's people swarmed the warehouse district, kicking open containers, sweeping buildings. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called in the gunfire. Minji sank to the ground, head in her hands. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was just supposed to be scared. You were supposed to choose. I was supposed to have control for once. You kidnapped a child, Kang Min said coldly. You never had control. I loved you. You loved a memory. And when reality didn't match, you tried to destroy it. Jinho jogged back, shaking his head. Nothing. The girl's not here. Kang Min's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered immediately. A voice he didn't recognize, electronically distorted. Looking for something, Mr. Kang? Who is this? Someone who saw an opportunity. Your ex-fiancée put out feelers for mercenaries. We took the job. She gave us the girl. We gave her an empty container back. Simple misdirection. What do you want? Wire transfer. 50 million won to the account I'm texting you. You have 30 minutes, or your daughter gets sold to the highest bidder. There's quite a market for children with unusual birthmarks in certain circles. The line went dead. Kang Min stood perfectly still for 3 seconds. Then he turned to Minji with an expression that made her scramble backward. You stupid, selfish, broken woman. You handed my daughter to human traffickers. I didn't know. I thought. You thought nothing. You felt sorry for yourself and lashed out. And now Leslie is in the hands of people who see her as merchandise. I can help. I can. You've helped enough. He nodded to 2 of his men. Take her to the secondary location. Lock her in. We'll deal with her after. They dragged Minji away, her protests fading into the night. Jinho pulled up banking information on his phone. 50 million is nothing. We can have it transferred in 5 minutes. No. Boss. We pay, they'll know we're soft. They'll know they can take from us again. Kang Min's jaw clenched. Find them. I want every contact you have on the street looking. Every informant, every favor owed. Someone saw them leave here with a 6-year-old girl. That'll take time we don't have. Then work faster. Kang Min looked at his wrist, the compass rose that had promised to always point him home. Leslie carried that same mark. Born with it. Fate or coincidence, magic or biology, it didn't matter. What mattered was that somewhere in Seoul, his daughter was in the hands of monsters, and he had 27 minutes to find her. He touched the tattoo, remembering the shaman's words. A mark made with profound love can transcend generations. Then transcend this, he whispered. Show me where she is. 23 minutes left. Kang Min stood in the warehouse, closing his eyes, forcing his mind to work. Leslie was 6 years old, terrified, in the hands of traffickers who saw her as profit. Standard protocol would be to move her immediately, get her out of Seoul before anyone could track them. But they'd asked for money. That meant they were still in the city, confident enough to negotiate. His phone buzzed. Jinho. Street cameras caught a white van leaving the warehouse district 90 minutes ago. Plates were fake, but we tracked it to Itaewon. Lost it near the old hotel district. Itaewon. Tourist area. High foot traffic. Dozens of abandoned buildings from the recent economic downturn. Perfect place to hide. Send everyone, Kang Min said. Boss, we're spread thin. If we pull everyone to one location. Send. Everyone. 15 minutes. Sarah was pacing Kang Min's penthouse when her phone rang. Unknown number again. She almost didn't answer, remembering the fake hospital call. But what if it was real this time? What if someone had Leslie? Hello. Heavy breathing. Then a small voice, barely a whisper. Mama? Sarah's knees buckled. Leslie? Baby, where are you? I don't know. It's dark. There's a man here. He has a phone. He said I could call you if I was brave. Her voice broke. Mama, I'm scared. I know, baby. I know. But Daddy's coming to get you. He's. The phone was yanked away. A man's voice, not distorted this time. Touching. You want to hear from her again. The price just went up. 75 million. 10 minutes. Wait. Deadline. Sarah immediately called Kang Min, told him everything. She's alive, he said, and Sarah heard something crack in his voice. She's alive and talking. That's good. They gave her a phone. Why would they do that? Kang Min was already thinking. To prove they have her. Or, his eyes widened. Jinho, can we trace a call if we know the approximate time and location? If she calls again, maybe. We'd need her to stay on the line for at least 30 seconds. Sarah, Kang Min said. If they call back, keep Leslie talking. Ask her questions. Anything to buy time. What if they hang up? Then we do this the hard way. 8 minutes. Kang Min's convoy screeched into Itaewon, vehicles fanning out across the district. His men moved like shadows, checking buildings, questioning locals, tracking patterns. A street vendor flagged them down. You looking for a little girl? Black kid, maybe 6 years old. Kang Min was in front of him instantly. Where? Old Sunshine Hotel. 3rd floor. Saw 2 guys carrying a duffel bag about an hour ago. Heard crying from inside. Thought it was weird, but He shrugged. Not my business usually. Kong Min pressed money into his hand. It's your business now. Tell anyone who asks, you saw nothing. The Sunshine Hotel was a gutted corpse of better times. No power, no water, just empty rooms and broken dreams. Perfect for human traffickers. 5 minutes. Kong Min's team spread through the building, silent and lethal. 3rd floor. 5 doors. They moved systematically, checking each one. 3rd door, empty. 4th door, abandoned supplies. 5th door, locked from inside. Jinho looked at Kong Min breach. Do it. They kicked the door in. The room was empty except for a chair, a phone on the floor, and a white orchid in a glass of water. Another orchid, like the one Minji had left at the penthouse. Kong Min picked up the phone. It buzzed in his hand. Text message. Did you really think it would be that easy? The hotel was a test. You passed. Now for the real game. Your daughter is still breathing. Barely. Check your personal email. Minji's still involved, Jinho said. The men we locked up said she hired them, but maybe. She's at the secondary location. Under guard. Kong Min pulled out his phone, checked his email. One new message. Video attachment. He clicked it. The video showed Leslie gagged now, in what looked like a moving vehicle. A hand, female, delicate, with a familiar compass rose tattoo on the wrist, stroked Leslie's hair almost tenderly. Then Minji's voice off camera. Hello, Kong Min, surprise. Did you think those mercenaries worked for themselves? I hired them to hire other people. Layers. Protection. Smart, right? The video cut to Minji's face and Kong Min's blood froze. She looked calm. Too calm. Eyes glassy, smile wrong. I realized something while your men were dragging me away. If I can't have a future, why should anyone? Leslie, Sarah, you. None of you deserve the happiness I'll never get. So I'm taking it. All of it. The camera panned back to Leslie, whose eyes were drooping. Drugged. The sedative I gave her earlier wasn't mild. It was just slow acting. In about. Minji checked her watch. 2 hours. Her respiratory system will shut down. Reversible, if you get her to a hospital in time. But here's the problem. The video shifted to show a view outside the vehicle. Open highway. Signs in Korean and English. We're heading to the airport. Private charter. By the time you track which one, we'll be in international airspace. And Leslie will be unconscious in a country without the antidote. Minji's face filled the screen again. You wanted to know what destiny costs, Kong Min? Everything. Your empire, your freedom, or your daughter's life. You can't have all three. The video ended. Kong Min stood in the empty hotel room, his daughter's life ticking away in his hand. His phone buzzed one more time. Text from Sarah. I'm feeling really sick. Going to the hospital. Call me when you have Leslie. Then another text, this one from an unknown number. Tick-tock. 47 minutes until the plane takes off. Choose carefully. The mark on her wrist won't save her this time. Kong Min looked at Jinho, at his men, at the white orchid mocking him from its glass. Then he ran.